Hello and welcome. The Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail benchmark has just been released and I've run a bunch of tests on it already, and I can compare it to Endwalker under similar conditions. Now there's a lot of permutations potentially to compare, so this is just going to be a quick look using the max preset only, because that doesn't use any of the new dynamic resolution stuff and it should make a like-for-like comparison with Endwalker. And here are the results. Starting at the top, I have an 11700K system with a 4070, so plenty of GPU performance, and we're still getting over 60 frames a second average at 4K. It's a bit lower than Endwalker was by about 30%. At 1080p we have some astronomical frame rates, so doesn't matter. Moving on to my gaming laptop, which has an AMD 5800H CPU and a 37 laptop GPU. That has a 1080p screen, and again we got 3-digit FPS on both Endwalker and Dawntrail, no problems at all. Moving on to my older system, it's got a 7940X, which is an old Intel Skylake X, and a 1080 Ti GPU. So again, plenty of performance, only running at 1080p. Again, 3-figure frame rates, no problem at all. Now, next system is dropping below the minimum spec. So the Dawntrail minimum CPU is an i7-7700. This is 2 generations older than that, but I'm pairing it with a 980 Ti, which is above the minimum requirements for the GPU. And at 1440p, it's struggling a bit to get above 60 frames a second. I'm guessing that's probably GPU limiting, not CPU. Drop the resolution to 1080p. We're above 60 frames average again, so that should be playable. And roughly, once again, we're seeing about 30% drop in frame rate compared to Endwalker. If you have a bit lower CPU than recommended, or minimum actually, for Dawntrail, it's probably still okay, but we'll have to wait and see actually in game. And if you look further below, I tested at 720p as well on that same system, and again we can reach into 3-digit frame rates, so the CPU doesn't appear to be limiting, at least not for the benchmark. But we'll see. If you walk around Limsa, you're going to take a hit, and that's going to be the real test when the servers go live. And finally, we have a 12100F CPU paired with an Intel Arc A380. Now this time the GPU is below minimum specifications. The A380 is roughly 20% weaker than the minimum of a 970. And here I had to drop down to 720p, which is the minimum resolution they are specifying. At maximum settings, we got 54 frames a second, which is not bad, I suppose, but could be better. Here I do try the high desktop preset. On the Dawntrailer, that normally would turn on dynamic resolution. So I manually turned that off to make it like-for-like comparison to Endwalker. So it's high desktop with dynamic resolution off for Dawntrail, and that bumps it up to 65 frames a second average. And again, about 30% drop compared to Endwalker, but that should be playable. And if you are curious what happens if you turn dynamic resolution on, I got 68 frames a second, so it is a little bit faster. I guess it's boosting the lower areas a bit, but the higher areas would be unaffected, so it's not going to make that radical a difference. But, well, not in the absolute numbers, but it could be in the gameplay experience. And that's where I am at the moment. I'm chasing down a weird quirk I noticed on my main system, where I seem to be CPU limited when it shouldn't be, and so I'm not showing results for that. And the testing that will come next, it's going to take a while to get through it. The dynamic resolution stuff, it will improve performance, but the question is at what quality. So that's going to be a lot more complicated than run benchmark, look at number. That's going to be getting screen captures, comparing the visual quality. I'm not even sure how that's going to work yet. It's not going to happen quickly, but I do want to see the practical differences side by side, and once I have done so, I hope to share it in the not too distant future. Until then, that wraps up the first look at benchmark results. Hope you find it interesting. Thanks for watching and see you next time.